Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's your boy JC. I'm in the mood, love. Yeah. Lately I've been constantly thinking about you, babe. You drive me crazy, yeah. And girl, I want this. Got me all up in my feelings. Oh, what a feeling, yeah. I knew the first time I laid eyes on you that you would be here forever. I'm not being arrogant, and I still can't take my eyes off you. 'Cause you made me better, so much better. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you.
What's up, everybody? It's Mike and Wendy, and we are in the marriage shop. Barely.
We dragged ourselves in here. Camilla Freeman, we're so glad that you're here.
What's up?
You make us smile. Justice Smith, I'm glad you made it on time. We're always glad when you can drop in and take a little time. And Art, the artist, Abdon.
Get out. What's up, man?
Good to see
Long
you.
time no see.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Justice Smith. And we know you're busy, man. You know, when you got young people, you know, all y'all with young kids out there, we know y'all busy.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we feel for you, but we don't feel sorry for you. You know, it's a blessing, right? Ooh, but that empty nest though. Woo-wee. Yeah. Anyway, we just touched down today. Just got back from Chattanooga. And it was great. We did the Weekend to Remember there, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that was great. Oh, that's our little photo booth thing. Did you all know? Listen, I had no idea that the Chattanooga Choo Choo was a real thing. I just thought it was a song. Maybe it was about a train headed to Chattanooga or something, but it's an actual train.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, and they painted it all of these really neat colors. I don't know what the original color was, but it is an actual train. And if you're ever in downtown Chattanooga, put that on your list of things to at least go see. There's an escape room around there. There's some restaurants around there. There's just a few things to do.
Yeah, it's a cool town. Now, I can't necessarily, no offense to all my Chattanooga folk who might be out there. I don't know if I recommend Chattanooga Choo Choo. I mean, just to say you saw it.
Things to say you saw it.
I guess so. Yeah. But there's a lot of cool things around there and a lot of train themed places. And a lot of cool restaurants. I was actually surprised. Chattanooga is pretty cool.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. So you gotta go and check that out if you're around there. Check a lot of that stuff out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. We had a good time. And so if you've been following us, or follow us, or we're friends on any of our pages, and even on this page, then you saw some of the pictures that we posted from the weekend. So we are coming in hot, but excited to be here and glad we could meet you guys here. The Wilsons are in the house and the Duramuses are here. So glad you guys could drop in on this Monday, the second Monday in September. And the weather in Chattanooga was amazing. It was so nice. Nice Beautiful. Breeze, nice cool. You could go for a walk, not break out in a sweat. We walked out of the airport in Augusta and it was like
oppression. Immediate. Oppression.
It was like somebody turned on the heat, but it's all good and it's good to be back. We're glad to be back.
Yeah, it's second Monday, right? And y'all know, if you got some singles out there, share this with them. Bring them on in.
Yep.
But before I talk about that, you know, the NFL season opened up, and we talked about that last time. Okay?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, and let's. Excuse me. I want to bring this graphic down because listen, you all need to hear me. I need you to hear me good on this. All right. So the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers opened up the season on Thursday night.
They did,
and I don't know if you saw it. Remarkable game. And so I'm gonna say it right here. Now I know what some of y'all are gonna think when I say this, right? Because Cowboy fans can be a little bit, I don't know, unreasonable, unrealistic, right? But this time It's gonna be different. I'm gonna say it here. Mark your calendars. Today is what? I don't know what day's date is. 13th, something like that.
Yes.
So September 13th. I'm telling you now. You heard it here first. What you
Mhm.
saw on Thursday night was a preview
Mm-hmm.
of the NFC Championship game.
Hmm.
That is all. Don't chat me about it. Just write it down.
Oh my goodness.
That's it.
That's
NFC Championship game.
yeah. So thank you for that. I was a little bit distracted. So Nicolette says they showed us on the screen at the Augusta WTR.
Oh, really?
They showed Chattanooga on the screen. Tell us more. Or was it us? Did you see our smiling faces? Who knows? Oh, and Lisa says we're not unrealistic.
Thank
we're
you,
hopeful.
sis. Thank
Always
you.
hopeful. I mean,
That's right,
Cowboys
Lisa
fans
McNeil.
have to be some of
Welcome.
the most hopeful fans of all fans. Just saying.
I mean, why not? If what's the point of following a team if there's no hope? I mean, I won't attack anybody else's team. Anyway.
Yeah, but it was a great game. It was a great game. And I enjoyed it. So yeah, the last couple of weeks, we've taken you on a little bit of a journey. So we started with the number one thing or the number one job for a husband,
Mm-hmm.
the number one priority for a wife. And then last week we had a little bit of fun and we were talking about binge or cringe.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I forgot to mention about binging was TikTok videos. We talked about everything else. We talked about TV and all these other things, but we did not talk about TikTok videos. And so I think in every household, there's probably one person that really loves to watch them and one that could do without them. I don't know. You have to let us know. Oh, they actually showed Mike and Wendy.
Oh.
What us? Oh, wait. Did they just, that's cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Anyway.
So you had to tell us how your weekend went, and glad you guys were able to attend the Weekend to Remember in Augusta. We heard some great things about it.
Yeah, and you all got here in Augusta. There was the folks who came, really cool bunch of folks.
Yeah, we know
good friends
them.
of ours. So
Yep. So
anyway,
we were messaging back and forth and all that. So anyway, I just wanted to throw out the TikTok video. So what are we talking about tonight?
Oh, tonight. So tonight we're talking about something that kind of popped up over the weekend, right? Because there's at the Weekend to Remember, there are people who I think the couple that have been married the shortest period of time was maybe a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the ones who have been married the longest were somewhere in the neighborhood of 56 years or something like that. And so when a question came up about how difficult the first year is, because there were some people that alluded to the idea anyway that the first year of marriage is so profoundly difficult. And this couple, it sounds like they were maybe a little bit shook. Like, is it that hard? Like, what do we get ourselves into?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't know about that. And so we just wanted to chat about it a little bit for people who are maybe entering into marriage, maybe, new in marriage, and for people who've been married for a while who remember what it was like getting started. Is it really that difficult? I mean, is this extended honeymoon phase, or is it this adjustment period that feels like, this feels, real tough and difficult? I will say that every time, and this actually came to mind today.
Okay.
When we were in our ride to the airport this morning, young man, he was driving his girlfriend's car. He's, they've apparently been dating for a while, and and marriage maybe is on the table. And I remember, I distinctly remember saying, don't let the first thing out of your mouth be, oh man, marriage, it's good, but it's work. We always do that, right? Marriage, oh man, it's good, but it's a grind. It's work. It's hard. It's like
hard work.
It's hard work. And the first thing we often say about marriage, it actually, it's almost like we're trying to deter people from thinking about it a lot of times, right? And so when I think about our first year, I don't remember it as a grind. I don't remember it as all this hard work. There was work happening. But a lot of times we talk about the work it takes, but we don't talk about what that work really is, right? We don't define what the work is. Just it's hard work. Now go figure it out, right?
That's good.
And so, I believe there is some work that needs to be done, but is the first year of marriage like the most difficult? Is it this whole journey that you have to survive?
Yeah. I mean, I think it depends on the source. So you have to consider it, because everybody is full of advice when somebody gets married or when people get married. And often at the wedding, someone will capture video of people giving them their best marriage advice, or at a shower, or at some point. And it's like, well, what is your advice for the couple? And it's interesting that a lot of people will say that. So there's some encouraging things, but then people tend to, it's almost like when you're about to have a baby, for whatever reason, people feel like they just want to tell you the truth. I want to say something that's comforting. However, I can't help but tell you my story. I can't help but tell you about the bad stuff that could happen too. Not really sure why that is, because we should be here to encourage everyone. So if you're engaged or you're in a long-term committed relationship and you're considering marriage, then tonight might be for you. And if people have said to you, that first year of marriage, I don't know, if you can survive that, you can survive anything. Well, maybe we have something to talk about.
I mean, and hopefully, if you are one who is maybe prone to give a little marriage advice from time to time, maybe tonight will help give you a little something else to put in the toolkit, other than, how much of a grind it is, right? Because people, when you're going into something that you're unaware of, and if you're listening to other people, then, folks kind of take those things in.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so what we want to take in is, it's going to require you to be committed. It's going to require you to have some accountability. It's going to require you to maybe make some changes in your heart, in yourself. But we also want them to walk away with, like, this, not only is this possible, but this can be the best thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, I think, and a lot of times, you're right. A lot of times I've heard, and I don't know if it's people joking about it or just in different conversations, where men in particular will say things like, life was good and then I got married.
Yes.
Or say that. Enjoy your freedom now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's true. But the funny thing is, we don't say that about other stuff, right? Let's say, for example, you like, I don't know, simple kayaking, right? Mm-hmm. Kayaking is nonstop paddling, right? Nonstop work. But if I'm going to take a friend kayaking, right? You'll be like, come on, let's go kayaking. It'll be fun, right? Period. Right, and then
you could flip over and almost
die.
You
might flip over and die.
Snake
And
might get you.
It's nonstop paddling, bro. It's gonna be nonstop. You better be ready, right? It's not quite that. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, let's go bowling. It's gonna be fun. Not you're gonna lift up this 15-pound ball and you just might hyperextend your elbow or pull that shoulder out. Right? It's gonna be fun, and so. Marriage is something a little bit different in the way that we think about and approach that sometimes.
It's something a little bit different. So I came across an article in Brides Magazine, of all places, where a woman, a therapist, is sharing about how she has said that. And she said, the first year of marriage is the hardest. I told my friend, trying to be comforting. The truth is, I'm not sure why I said it. And I think that's true for a whole lot of people. We just kind of say things without thinking it all the way through. I mean, we want to be encouraging. We want to be honest.
Yeah.
We want to be supportive. We want to be all those things. But I think we do kind of feel this, not an obligation, but this drive to make sure that we're telling people the whole truth. And here's the thing, I'm thinking, your truth is not their truth, right? Your truth is not necessarily the truth. So I would say, if you're a couple or a person who feels like, I just have to tell them just so they are well informed, think that through. Before you do, and maybe prepare something that you're going to start. So maybe this is for you to start thinking about what you're saying to people.
I think here's one thing about marriage. I think is sometimes some of the experiences that you have kind of prime you for what you think, what it becomes for you, right? To your point, this whole idea of what the quote unquote truth is.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times when we're thinking about marriage and somebody is stepping into it, and we know we stepped on some landmines and been through some struggles, and now we want to. Those things are the things that begin to come to mind when you're looking at a couple that's getting married, and you want to say, look, you got to be careful. It's dangerous out there, right? And so those things are the one things that drive what we say a lot of times, right? Because what we're really saying is avoid all the pitfalls that I have stepped into. That's what we're really saying a lot of times, I think. And fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. But what about, hey, enjoy the things that I've enjoyed, right? Now, sometimes for some folks, finding the places that they've enjoyed become difficult, because for some people that first year is difficult. Second year, every year.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
And so you talk about it from your perspective.
Yeah.
And so I think, though, that what's possible, and we're going to talk about a few things before we get done tonight. We're going to talk about a few things that make a great marriage possible from the very beginning. A few little things that you just, I think, need to consider.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And by the way, those little things, we're talking because it's, Second Monday for singles, right? But these things apply to whether you've been married a year, 10, 20, 30 years. These little things apply. And so for some folks, maybe it's time for a little bit of a reboot.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
We'll talk about that.
And for those of you old married couples, we want you guys to chime in and, of course, drop in your advice, your guidance, your perspectives in the comments as we go along. So one of the things that we know, and essentially the way that I addressed the question that we got was that there are a lot of things that are coming together, and we wrote about it, right? You're two different people coming from two different backgrounds.
In the first year, you mean?
In the first year, right? And that first year marriage, two different people coming from two different backgrounds, two different families with two different sets of expectations. Maybe you're coming with good credit, bad credit, or great credit. Maybe you're coming with student loans. Maybe you went all out and spent $80,000 on your wedding. And so now this is what you all are sitting with. And so all of those things are things that admittedly can make that first year challenging. Some people actually in their honeymoon pregnant.
That's true. And so, yeah, so those are some things that can make it a challenge. And by the way, right, Jeff Hill, Jeff said, who you calling old, right? Yeah, season is what she was saying. You know what I mean?
Unless old married couples. If you've been married longer than a year, that makes you an old married couple.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Anyway, yeah. But Nicolette said they say kids are hard work. Now, yeah, marriage, debatable hard work. Yeah, probably. Kids, kids are hard work too.
Kids are hard work.
Yeah. But, kids would be gone, but you still be working on that marriage. Am I right? But all those things you talked about. So these are some things that can make it challenging. There is a convergence.
Yep.
You're taking what was two individuals and you're creating this singular thing. And sometimes you are bringing in, if there are children already involved or if you have children on the way, if there's bills that you bring in and all that debt that you bring in, obligations you bring in, different types of work, things like that. And by the way, she mentioned the $80,000 wedding. I will encourage you that, I would say this. I would ask all the people who had the 80, the 6-figure wedding or that really big extravagant wedding, if they would do the same thing. They look back on it a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 later. A lot of people we talk to say they would probably do it differently.
That's true.
Because what you want to be able to do is take everything you can and invest it into that relationship as you go, not necessarily the day. And I think COVID, I was like, man, if we got married during COVID, man, we would have been good. You know what I mean? We'd invited those 2 people, live stream that bad boy, and taken off somewhere and disappeared for a little while.
Yeah, well, I know a lot of people were having what they called mini monies during COVID. And it did, I think, probably force a lot of couples to kind of reconsider and reconceive what that day would be like, or at least the amount of money that they invested in it, right? And so you always want to be surrounded by people that love you, that you love, to celebrate, because it is something to celebrate. And the whole point of, marriage in that first year, it should be about celebration. I mean, while there are so many converging factors and things that you are dealing with and maybe new things and revelations, right? One of the things to consider is that, years ago, well, okay, I won't even say that. scratch that. Forget I was even starting down that line of what I was going to say. But I will say this. In the 21st century, there are more couples that live together prior to marriage than years ago. And I think even though you may have lived with someone or cohabitated for a period of time, it's still different once you get married. And I think that some couples are surprised by that. They think that we've been living together for 7 years. So if we get married, it's not going to be any different. And the truth is, it is different because it is different.
It's true.
Before you were not married and now you're married.
That is so true, right? And so I hadn't planned to drop this one right now, but that's point number one. Change your expectations. Because a lot of people believe that, and they will actually tell you, right? Mm-hmm. And if you've been married for a minute, you probably chuckle to yourself when people tell you, well, basically, we pretty much been living together for the last 5 years anyway, so, we good.
Yeah.
There's something about making it official. It changes the game, right? And so it's about change your expectations and not expecting that because you've been living together that now all you do is flip the switch, put the rings on, and it'll be the same thing going forward. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of things shift.
Yeah. And it's funny, right? Because you're saying in terms of your expectations, not to expect it to be the same in some ways, but then I'll come back and I'll say, absolutely expect the person to be the same. And what do I mean by that? Mm-hmm. So if they did things that annoyed you before you married them, once you marry them, they're not going to miraculously change and be different. Mm-hmm. And I think some people actually have that expectation that you're going to be different after we get married, that there's some habits or some things that you do. Maybe it won't get on my nerves as much.
Yeah.
So,
So, in matter of fact,
same person yesterday, same person today.
Which is, that's kind of a mind-blowing concept, actually, when I think about it, right? Because once you get married, things will definitely change. But the things that the person you are, won't necessarily change. It's weird, but that's reality. That's marriage. It's a mystery. Right? But if you've been saying, hey, I'm going to do that thing, like once you get married, I know right now I'm not doing it. Once you get married, I'm going to do it. Yeah, stop lying. You're lying to yourself and you're lying to your spouse. So stop it. And I got evidence for that. So it's a great point. It's a great point, right?
Yeah, and I think some of you have maybe have heard the guidance or the wisdom to not start doing something that you don't intend or plan to carry for the rest of your life or throughout your marriage. And I think that's good advice in its own right? Because it's like, man, if I'm doing something to win you, then I need to continue to do that to keep you. And I think that's the mindset you should have versus I'm going to do this to get you. And then as soon as I got you, I'm done doing this.
Yeah. And look, Nicolette, I hear you, Nicolette. You better bring that weekend to remember point on through. Covenant versus living arrangement, covenant versus a contract. Once you get married, that is it. It is sealed. Why? Right? Because if marriage is to model this relationship between Jesus Christ and the church, right? Jesus made a covenant with us, right? He made a covenant, like he died on the cross to cover our sin. And as long as we accept him as our Savior, and as long as we believe that he died for our sins, right, then we are saved and our sins are forgiven. Period. It's done, right? Can't be undone. That's it. That's kind of what marriage is. This coming together, right? And that's what it's supposed to model. And once it's done, no matter what. The forgiveness is assured. Oh, y'all need to hear me on this. The forgiveness is assured. So that, because a lot of people, they struggle because your spouse is going to disappoint you, period. Yep. At some point, they're going to let you down.
Yes.
And the thing about marriage is that there's this comfort, there's this safety in knowing that no matter what, the forgiveness is assured and you can repair it and you can rebuild it. Our relationship is certainly an example of that. All right. But a lot of people go into it with this contract, this agreement, this arrangement. Like, if you do this, then I'll do that. And if you don't do this, then I'm going to withhold. I'm going to step back. I'm not going to do what I said I was going to do, because it's contingent upon you coming through on your end of the bargain.
Yeah.
Marriage is not a bargain. Right? It's not.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah, and so we don't want to scare you away into thinking, oh no, because that's the other thing that kind of can make it challenging in that first year, that, you know, once you're in there and these things start to come out, it's like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to deal with this for the rest of my life. I'm stuck.
I can't escape.
Right.
But that's
who
the problem.
Knew? I know, but who knew? I mean, it's both sides of it, right? You have to kind of really shape the way that you look at it, right? And that's right, Jeff. No quid pro quo. And Mike was just talking about that this weekend, so I'm glad you brought that up. But it's this whole idea of little things that you may not have known. So there's what you know, and then there's what you may not have known. And we'll call these first year marriage surprises. Right? Like, I don't know, maybe your new husband or wife likes to chew off their toenails. I
don't even know. That might be a deal breaker. So,
but here's the thing.
At first, but you should be impressed with their flexibility. I don't know. But yeah, I will tell you something about, I'm going to tell you something that I learned, and this is totally unscripted. Don't try this at home, ladies and gentlemen. I am a trained professional, and I'm a little bit risky.
Yeah.
But Wendy had a cat when I met her. A lot of people know that. And that cat, the thing that struck me about this cat is, there are two things. It would scratch. She had a leather couch, very nice couch, but one corner was all jacked up, and I'm like, how does she still own this cat with this couch scratched up like this? But it's almost like she was in this place of acceptance. Like, yeah, he got me. And so, I mean, I'm like, what do you do? Right. And so, so there was that. And I knew that, but this cat would like shed like crazy. It just walks by you and cat fur, right?
Cat's shed.
The cat's shed. I mean, I know I never owned a cat. I didn't really realize the extent, right? And so, but I realized that Wendy was not as like crazy about cat fur as I was. So there might be a couple of little cat furs on her sleeve or something going out the door, and I'm like running like with the lint roller, like, come here. I think I saw one. I'm like, I was hyper crazy about it. Wendy was not necessarily hyper crazy about it. I mean, it's like, if 1 or 2 slipped through, she was okay. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, my tension is on 100, right?
Yeah.
And so I had to figure out what I was going to do with that, because you can't, those two, she's kind of relaxed about it. I'm a little OCD and crazy about it. Those two things can't necessarily exist in peace over the course of time. So something has to happen.
Yeah, I mean, but that hasn't changed.
Well, it's changed a little bit. Well, of course, I mean, it's changed. She just doesn't know. She can't see the full extent of the change that I have made. But I will, like, if I see her walk by, I'm like, I think I saw something. I'm gonna go chasing after with the lint roller. But I made kind of an emotional shift and a behavioral shift in order to not make it this huge thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's just a little, it's a simple thing, but it's the simple stuff that gets you over the course of time.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
I mean, so in my defense, furniture is expensive. And so just my cat scratched up the couch and I had him declawed. By the time you met him, he had no claws. But I wasn't going to get rid of the couch because it was just one small area but it was his favorite area. So, I could move that part of the couch like over in the corner, which I highly recommend if that is your situation. But the rest of the couch was perfectly fine. So that is why I didn't get rid of my
drop that cat
couch.
out the window.
No, but I love my cat. And here's the thing. When we were dating, right, Mike was not necessarily a cat person, but that was part of the deal. And interestingly enough, once we got married, my cat actually couldn't go with us where we were going. And so I had to give the cat away. So even though he was part of the package, and you had to make that adjustment, it ended up that changed. And I think that is the point I'm trying to make there is that things change. So even though it starts out a certain way, doesn't mean it's going to stay that way.
Mhm.
Things change for the better, and sometimes things change for the not better.
And here's the kicker: we ended up getting another cat later on.
We did.
That was our cat, right?
Yeah.
So things do change, and so I think it's important for us individually to not get so locked in. Like, this is who I am, this is what I do, and I don't do that, and I don't do this. Right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes because you love somebody else, it will not only result in a change that is, this forced, okay, fine, if you say so change, but something that says, you know what? I know that this thing here might make her happy. This thing might bring some joy or something more than what we have. And I'm going to do that because I want to. Yeah. Because it's for us. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
And so what we want to do is encourage you. The first year of marriage does not have to be hard. It does not have to be extremely difficult. It does not have to be a total disaster, despite what other people would like for you to think or believe, whether it's a therapist or not. You can read all of the articles. You can Google it. You can watch programs about it. You can listen to podcasts. At the end of the day, your relationship is a relationship that you have, and it's unique to you and the person that you have decided to marry. So once you decide to get married, we wouldn't want you to not decide to get married because you're anticipating that it's going to be a disaster. Yeah. By all means, please don't do that, because things change. Marriage can be exciting. It can be wonderful. It can be amazing. It can be any good word you want to fill in the blank. Marriage is good.
Yeah. And I'll say this. I think that you will not, I think this is an accurate statement. So check me on this if it's not, but you will not be as liked, if you will, any other year in your marriage. When I say light, I mean, when you come into a marriage and you're bringing all the things that we talked about. As light.
L-I-G-H-T.
L-I-G-H-T.
Okay. Light.
Right? Because you're coming in with, that's right. And I don't mean like your weight, even though that's probably the case, at least for me. I haven't been that light. But no, I mean, I'm just saying in terms of what you bring in and what you have, because once you come together, a lot of times there's accumulation. There's the home. There's the children. There's more stuff.
Yeah.
Literal stuff. And so when we first got married, I feel like when I think back on it, I felt real agile, right? We could go to Walmart. We hop out of the car. We run in. We get stuff. We run back to the car. We ain't thinking about anything. Let's go eat. Right? We do all these things. Bills are minimal. There was just not as many things to attend to.
True.
Right. So we were just all about each other for like a year. Well, actually like a year plus, year and a half. It was just all about us running around Korea, going to places, doing things. There was not a whole lot else to think about.
Yeah.
Right. And so then we come back, we buy this home, we have this baby, we take on these new jobs and the responsibility increases. And so we started to, you begin to stack things and build things. So that's what I mean when I say it's early on, it's rarely as light as it is early on. We had a blast the first year.
Yeah.
Right. And certainly there's adjustments and things like that you have to make. But we did have a really good time.
Yeah. I mean, it is a really good time. And for those of you who are saving yourselves for marriage, who have, what's the word? It's not sworn yourself, but have taken vows of celibacy and have made it a point to not have sex prior to marrying the person that you're going to marry. There's that part of it, right? So again, expectations, anticipation. What is it going to be like once you get married? I mean, we've heard things like, well, how will I know that we're going to be compatible? How will I know that this is going to work out once I get married? And what if it's just awful? And then that's what it's going to be for the rest of my marriage. And so I just want to speak to that a little bit and by saying this. Again, communication is important in a marriage. communication is important in a marriage, and communication is important in a marriage.
Okay.
All things that will occur in your marriage come back to communication, right? If there's something that you're not happy about or that you're not comfortable with, just in general, you need to talk about it. If you have some expectations that that aren't being met or they're being challenged, talk about it. If the other person has expectations, talk about it. If you have not talked about what your prayer life or your church life is going to be, talk about it. If you haven't really explored beyond those initial conversations, how many children you want to have, or if you want to have children, talk about it. If you hadn't talked about pets, talk about it. If you hadn't talked about toenails, talk about it.
Yeah, about them toenails. So, yeah, so that's good, because it is an ongoing process of communicating and making it about something like more than yourself.
Yeah.
Right. There's a couple of things I think we should share that I believe are really critical in terms of making that first year your best year and giving you something to build off of.
Yes.
Right. So I think it's important to make my marriage the priority. A lot of times we'll go in, that is your marriage, right?
Yes.
The priority. We'll go in, and we have friends and we have family, and a lot of things we're trying to make adjustments in order to not disappoint them, in order to not ruffle anybody's feathers, or not rock the boat, to maintain some things outside of the marriage. Well, the marriage becomes what you might want to consider the big rock that you have to be attending to, and then fill in all the other things around the marriage. So now things shift, right? Things that used to be really high priority and the first thing you're going to do, maybe now they become the second. And that's everything, right? Even family. This is difficult for some people because of how you conceive this thing. But I can tell you this, if you can get this piece right, and if you haven't gotten it right and you're married, it's okay. You can still get it right. But if you can, it will help to shield your relationship and make it stronger so that you can withstand all these other pressures.
Yeah.
You have to, like, the family, yes, they're a part of you and a part of this whole process, but the marriage is its own thing that has to be guarded. And so it has to be the priority, period. Right? Now, you could argue that point, but you might be wrong, right? Because your spouse has you know what? Fellas, I'm talking to husbands straight up. Your wife has to feel protected and safe in your marriage. She can't feel like she has to play second fiddle, right? Or whatever your instrument is. She can't feel like she has to be the one to make all these adjustments and to adjust people maybe not treating her right, or adjust people who want to do things that she don't want to do that are outside of her home, right? And a lot of times we're like, well, they want to do it, so we got to do it. No, you actually don't. Wendy often talks about marriage, or describes it as your own mutually created reality, right? You get to create the reality, and it is important that you create that, and that your reality not be driven by something external. And so you have to really be thoughtful about guarding your marriage and being aggressive, being a bulldog about guarding your marriage. And you can do that and love the people that you love effectively. But when it comes down to it, when the two of you become one, when you're husband and wife, it's important that the marriage take priority over friends, family, and everything else. I think a lot of people get that wrong from the jump.
Yeah.
And so when that occurs, then there's this sense of maybe insecurity, this sense of maybe I'm not the most important thing, and there other things are more important, right? If that's the message, then that's when you begin to see people do things to try to establish that security, try to find that safety or whatever. And so when you find yourself asking, like, why are you doing this? Why are you saying that? A lot of times that's the reason why. And so it's important to make the marriage priority and then come to agreement on what it's going to be. How are we going to establish things outside of this relationship, or even with and through this relationship?
Yeah, I think that's good. And so you talk specifically about family and friends and some of those existing relationships.
Yeah.
But the other thing is to just establish boundaries in general. So even work relationships. So anyone, outside of your marriage, it really is helpful to establish boundaries and to define friendships, right? The level of friendship that you will have, because a lot of couples have shared with us that maybe they were friends, they had friends that were of the opposite sex prior to coming into this current relationship or marriage, and they want to maintain those friendships, or that they're even closer to those friends than they are to their spouse. And so it becomes really important that you establish boundaries early, that you have conversations around what that looks like and what makes you comfortable, and what you can live with.
That's a good point. I mean, in our experience, I had a couple of friends that I intended to keep after I got married. And in fact, before I got married, talk to those friends about, when I get married, we'll still be friends, kicking and talking all that. At some point, I can't really tell you when, it was relatively early in our relationship though, I realized that those relationships were not going to work. I mean, and these are friends of the opposite sex, by the way. I realized that they weren't going to work. They couldn't work and my marriage work at the same time. Right? Because when you have a friendship, and there's some pouring out that goes into that. And I realized that, and I want y'all to think about this as you pour out, and you're sharing your life and you're sharing emotions and experiences and all this thing. And wherever you pour that out to, you can't necessarily pour it out in the same way in two different directions. So, the bottom line is, I think it's important that Wendy has to be the one to know most of what's going on in my heart, right? She has to hold the lion's share of everything that's happening with me. And having an intimate relationship with folks of the opposite sex creates a potential issue down the road. And it even if it doesn't result in, say, what a lot of you all might be thinking in terms of cheating and whatnot, it somehow takes something out of her. I was going to say your basket, your box, right? Like there's some things I'm supposed to be giving her that I've already given away, and I can't. And she never gets them. She never receives that.
Yep. And
I think that's problematic. Even if it doesn't result in anything that you would identify as, a problematic relationship, anything that takes away the intimacy and takes away what is supposed to be Wendy's and gives it to anyone else is a problem.
Yeah, and so we're talking about relationships, family, friends, and other things. I mentioned work, but this could also include ministry. If there are ways that you serve, it's the same thing. You're pouring out, you're giving, and you're prioritizing sometimes those things over other things. This may have been the lifestyle that you've chosen. Again, that's something that you really want to be honest about, explore, and talk about before you get married. But then if you're able to partner in those things as a married couple, it's better. If you're not, then you have to be careful. And basically what you're saying is your marriage should be the priority relationship. It is the priority relationship, right? The person you're married to is your priority. They get your best. They hear it from you first. They're the first one that you go to, the first one you confide in, the first one you share with. That's how it should be. That's how it's designed.
Yeah. So that doesn't always, it's not always easy to do, right? When you begin changing the dynamics of relationships that have existed or that have been created, not always easy to do. But I believe that if you're able to do that and make your spouse a priority, then it will strengthen your relationship, and it will take the level of trust and just boost that significantly.
Oh yeah.
Right? So yeah. All right. And so another thing, I think, so we talked about making the relationship a priority. We talked somewhat about creating boundaries, right? And that's boundaries with where you go, what you do, but also with even internally, right? Just kind of creating some structures around what you do so that I don't know, you minimize surprises, right? But create some boundaries to protect your space, and then also to help guide what happens within the space, so to speak.
Yeah.
So what do I mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
It could be something as simple as, I don't know. I like to try to not take phone calls at a certain time. Now at least I used to. Now I think about it, some of those bad boys are late. Even with my family, my sisters and I, my dad, my mom, we talk quite a bit. But if I talk to them at certain times, sometimes I carry it a little bit differently than if I talk to them at others. Late at night, I try to kind of keep them minimal. Unless there's something going on, I try to minimize that and make sure I give Wendy the time that we spent. Or if we're on a trip or vacation or something like that, then I'll try to cut out some of the things that I normally let in, because this is our time. So the bottom line is, when it's supposed to be your time, make it your time.
Yep.
Right?
Protect the time.
Protect the time.
Yeah.
And letting it go. Learning how to let stuff go. That's the third thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So letting go. So I mentioned, what if you're married now and then you discover something that maybe you didn't know was a habit, or the way that they did things before. And the example that I put out there was that they chew off their toenails, right? And so at the point that you see that, I mean, for some people, like Mike, I mean, that could be repulsive, right? It's just like, oh my goodness, now I'm married to you and this is what you do. What do we do? How do you change that?
Have you ever chewed your toenails before kissing me?
I mean,
something like that.
Right.
No.
I mean, but the reason why I put that out there is because it's one of those things where, I mean, if you do it, hey, it's your thing, and it's fine. No judgment here. But if it's something that comes up, then you really have to ask yourself, what's more important, right? Is it something that is destructive? Is it something that's harmful? Is it something that is really, really going to damage or hurt your relationship and the relationship that you have with each other? If it isn't, then don't make it something that does those things, right? Learn how to, and I won't say don't sweat the small stuff, but there are some things that are little things that we just sometimes have to be able to let go.
Yeah. Absolutely. What are those things? Things that relate to dishes. Something about dishes and socks. Right? Dishes, socks, strange habits, minor offenses. There are some things, it's just, it's not worth blowing up the whole day for.
Yeah.
It's just not. Right? And so we have to be able to just say, you know what? I don't know if I'd do that, but it's okay. I'm not gonna wreck the day for this. I'm not going to let this thing drag out and begin to erode what we're trying to build.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, right? And so, but a lot of times we want to nitpick. We want perfection. We want to make sure we get the small. I'll make sure you get these small details right. I can't let go of the small stuff.
Yeah. So. And I think part of that too is, and this was actually in that article, and it was a point that I wanted to make, is that we put pressure on ourselves to be something that we believe we should be, right? And so social media does not help with this at all. And so when in your relationship, when these things are happening, or you discover these things, or you're having a difficult time, whatever the case may be, you may feel like you're the only ones. Like you're the only ones dealing with this. You're the only ones that are going through this. That you can never get past it, because based on social media, everybody else is getting this thing right. Nobody else is having these issues, and everybody else seems to be having and living their best life. And we can't say it enough that what you see is what people show you.
Exactly.
Yep.
So live. I would even recommend to some people, when particularly early in their relationships, like even before they get married, to dial back on social media and just go ahead and live your best life and not feel obligated to post about it. Because a relationship is when it's first planted, it's like a tree, right? If you ever planted a sapling, a tree, it's very sensitive. Right. And to little insults and little nicks here and there. And so it's important to take that thing and put it in an environment where it can be protected and nurtured. Because once the roots get strong, then it can withstand anything: storms, rain, heat.
Yeah.
Right. And so your relationship is very much the same way.
Yeah.
And welcome, Cheryl Dubois. Hopefully London's with you. We see you.
Yeah.
And,
amazing photos, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, amazing photos. Y'all got to check out the Dubois, man. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And
those
I love
things are amazing. But no, that obviously Nicolette's quote.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Nicolette says, quote, I have to say to myself, love is not about what you can live with. It's about what you can't live without. It is so bad that I don't want him to be in my life. Is it so bad that I don't want him to be in my life? No. Is it worth working through the struggle? Yes. Do I want to train another one? No. So it's like a whole algorithm.
Come on, Nicolette. Exactly. you know how much time it took me to create what you see before you. Do I want? I'm putting that kind of work into somebody else? I don't think so.
Yeah. So anyway, overall though, we want to encourage you. I mean, marriage can be good. Marriage can be great. Marriage can be awesome. Marriage is what you make it. And just because other people say that first year of marriage is horrible or is the worst or is so difficult, don't let that deter you. A couple of ways that you can make sure and start to work on making sure that your first year and every year that follows is the marriage that you want is, like you said, number one, make the marriage the priority. Set those boundaries, learn to let the small stuff go. And then the last thing was to create new things together.
Yeah. There are a lot of people who are going to tell you a lot of things and who do tell you a lot of things about their marriage. The thing is, it actually doesn't have anything to do with you. Right. And so whatever it has been for someone else doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you. Right. You all get to create what it's going to be. But I encourage you to create new things together, to do new things together, new relationships, new activities. I mean, we have like, what's it like HelloFresh? And there was another thing that we got, the food that came in that, they ship in the box and everything. Blue Apron. And so the first time when he got Blue Apron, actually, even the first time we went out to one of those spots and you're able to build your own little meals and stuff, there's stuff that it was like, what is that? I don't know if I'm gonna eat that or not, right? But we were able to kind of come together and begin to try and experiment with new things. It sounds really simple, but you would begin to discover that those things that you create together, there's something special about that. And then you begin to discover together what we like, what we don't like. And what I love about Wendy is what we've discovered over the years, in terms of like socializing and going out and partying and all that stuff, those things kind of evolved as well, right? So in the beginning, it was like, let's go kick it, but we didn't have to kick it all night long. I love that about her because there's a point when it's just like, okay, you know what, this is over, let's go home. I'm ready to go.
My head hurt,
gotta go. And we hit that at the same time, and then we kind of evolved to this place where it's like, you know what? How many celebrations and parties and stuff we need to go to? It's kind of like the same thing happening over and over again. I tell you what, why don't we do our thing? Right? So we go out and we do our thing. Then it was like, you know what? Why don't we kick it like right here where we are? We're not going anywhere. And so we got to evolve to this place at the same time. And so, but at every point, we're always just kind of testing and seeing what fits for us, what feels right, what feels good, what's bringing us closer together. And so we just do it, and it really doesn't have anything to do with anybody else.
Yeah. And so I would just, again, when you were dating, you were open to discovering, you were open to trying new things and learning about this person. And I just want to say that you really kind of have to continue that throughout your marriage. So that happens while you're dating. It happens once you get married. It happens through that first year and every year that you're married. Never stop learning, learning and being a student of your spouse, I've said before, but never stop allowing space for things to change and be different, right? And to be flexible. Because there's this, okay, well, this is who you were when I met you and things are good. And I don't want anything about this to change. And the reality is that everything about it will change.
That's true. Yep. But change is not necessarily bad. Change can be really good.
Yep.
Right. And so it's just a matter of what you embrace and what you're willing to do in order to continue pursuing, your spouse. Certainly, husbands, you pursue that lady, right? Back in the day, it would have been, whatever you want to do, girl, whatever you want to do, I'm there. Right now, and then we try to drag them along. Nope, no need to drag. wherever she, just pursue her, and it'll be great. So anyway, I thought this was going to be short tonight. We got to cut this thing off.
Yeah, we got to cut this thing off. We're so glad you guys joined us tonight. And Ponseer, we're always glad when you drop in.
Yeah.
Always brings a smile to our face. So, hey, guys, we'll be back next Monday at 7. If you think someone can benefit from hearing this, if you have some single friends that are still trying to figure it out or just want to see what's happening on the other side of this thing, let them know that we're here on Mondays at 7.
That's right. So we're gonna pray with y'all, but I just want to say, marriage, it's work. It's really great work. It's awesome, right? And sometimes, some days it doesn't feel that way, right?
Sure.
But you can create a situation where more days than not, it's the best decision you've ever made. Got to let God in, right, and allow God to guide what you do. Right. And by the way, there's a lot of these self-help videos and people out there and gurus who are giving out horrible information, frankly, as it pertains to having a happy marriage. I won't name names, but that's just the case. All right. So, but at the Marriage Shop, we try to do our best. So cut those zeros. Anyway, we got to roll. All right. But we're going to pray first, if you all will. Heavenly Father, we just come tonight just thanking you. Thank you for bringing us to this place where everyone who's watching, who will watch, we just ask that you help them to allow you to guide their decisions. Help us to allow you to come into our relationships, to guide our decisions, our behavior, to show us how to love one another, God. Help us to do relationships and marriage in a way that brings you glory and shows how amazing, how remarkable this union can be, this covenant can be, if we just allow you to lead it. So we thank you. We ask you to bless every home represented here. We ask you to bless everyone in everything that they do. And we'll be sure to give you the honor, the glory, and the praise, we pray. These are the blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, y'all. We will see you next week, if not before.
Have a great week.
Take care.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's your boy JC. I'm in the mood. Love you. Lately I've been constantly thinking about you, babe. You drive me crazy. Yeah. And girl, I want it. Got me all up in my feelings. Oh, what a feeling, yeah. I knew the first time I laid eyes on you that you would be here forever. I'm not being arrogant, and I still can't take my eyes off you. 'Cause you made me better, so much better. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, baby. I love your kindness, I love your confidence. Ooh, you're the finest. So glad you're mine, yeah. I don't wanna be with nobody else. Give me your love, that's all the wealth I need. Baby, you're priceless to me, yeah. To love you for a lifetime. I'm in the to love you for a lifetime. lifetime, yeah. Whoa. Promise I'ma be around. I'ma always hold you down. Won't you come and hold me now? Won't you come and hold me now? I just got a new coupe. Yeah, I know I got a roof, but I always keep it down with you. Yeah, and I know they see, girl, you're my queen. And beauty speaks for itself, loud and clear. Yeah, so throw it in the air. It's the sweetest sound to follow my ear. And I want the world to know I love you forever. And that's a long time, babe. But I got time for you, baby. I'm in the mood. Ooh, for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you, yeah. For a lifetime, baby. Ooh, yeah. For a lifetime. Oh, for a lifetime. Yeah.